Macrovision Video Copy Protection. The bane of anyone who wanted to make a copy of Back to the Future back in the past.
I'm from the future.
But while there are several videos going over what it is and demonstrating how it works, which you should watch first if you're unfamiliar with it, they don't address the question of how widely used Macrovision actually was. So we were left to assume that it became ubiquitous and taken for granted on pre-recorded video cassettes, just as Dolby noise reduction was on pre-recorded audio cassettes. And that's what I used to think, but after amassing a collection of movies on VHS from New Jersey's finest thrift stores, and equipment which can detect the presence of Macrovision, I decided to check and find out just how many of these movies actually do have Macrovision applied to them. Efforts to prevent unauthorized duplication of video recordings date back to the infancy of consumer VCRs. The first video copy protection scheme was CopyGuard by Trans-American Video of Hollywood, California in 1975. That was followed in early 1976 by StopCopy, a joint engineering venture of Goldmarks Communications, Teletronics International, and Byron Motion Pictures. Both systems began appearing on VHS cassettes in the late 1970s, such as on this one, circa 1979, whose label says StopCopy, an electronic signal to prevent illegal reproduction, has been encoded on this cassette. This may cause your TV picture to roll. If so, simply adjust the vertical hold on your set until the picture is steady. That was the intended effect of those early copy protection schemes. Any attempt at copying the video would result in the image losing vertical sync and rolling constantly. But that would sometimes happen even when not trying to copy the tape. As Audio Magazine reported, on certain models of television sets, mostly of American manufacture, when people buy these CopyGuard encoded videotapes and in a perfectly honest, straightforward manner try to play them back, all they can get is a violently rolling, jittery picture. As Electronics Australia explained it in 1981, some pre-recorded video cassettes use the CopyGuard process, which modifies the vertical sync pulse, making copying more difficult. And they said that original CopyGuard cassettes are unplayable on about 30% of TV receivers because of vertical rolling. That led to a slew of video stabilizer devices appearing on the market, which could remove those forms of copy protection for both legitimate and illegitimate purposes. And within a few years, most VCRs included circuits to circumvent the function of copy-guarded tapes, rendering the system ineffective. Newspaper columnist John Tietz wrote in 1985, the old CopyGuard process was about as difficult to defeat as a bad latch on a window from a burglar's point of view. There was also CopyGuard 2, but I can't find any information about it. I don't have any video cassettes that I know to be encoded with StopCopy or CopyGuard, but Ben of the Oddity Archive does, and he was unable to get it to cause any adverse effects during either playback or dubbing.
This tape, at least according to the label, does have StopCopy. Unfortunately, I've tried everything to get the StopCopy to engage on this, and I can't. I have 3 TVs and 3 VCRs. I tried every permutation, every type of TV, every type of cable hookup within reason, and I could not get the StopCopy to engage.
And from around 1979 to 1981, there was another video copy protection system called VideoGuard from Composite Video. Yes, they literally named their company Composite Video. It replaced the blanking, sync, and burst signal of the master tape with new signals, creating all sorts of problems for those who attempt to make unauthorized copies. According to the company, VideoGuard could be used not only on VHS and beta, but also 3/4-inch U-matic format in both NTSC and PAL without causing the vertical roll that was endemic to CopyGuard and StopCopy. but I can't find any proof of VideoGuard actually being used on pre-recorded movies. And apparently there was yet another video copy protection system called MVGuard, but aside from a few scant references to it in early 1980s magazines, I can't find any information about it. Sony also filed for a patent on video copy protection in 1977, but I don't know if anything ever became of it. Ben also came across one tape which claims to have MagnaGuard copy protection, but according to his demonstration of it, I think that's just another name for Macrovision. Speaking of which, thanks to their trademark filing, I was able to find a photo of the original Macrovision encoder. It has some kind of model number on the front, which I can't quite make out, but it's on a little stand which says 1985 Allen Bradley Electronic Components. Macrovision encoding was first used on 150,000 copies of The Cotton Club in late April 1985. However, acceptance of the system was hindered by initial reports of it suffering from the same shortcomings as the previous copy protection schemes. The first major Hollywood film to have its home video release Macrovision encoded was Back to the Future in May 1986. And in case you're not old enough to remember, you may be shocked to learn just how expensive it was to buy a movie on VHS back then. Back to the Future cost $80, and other titles cost between $70 and $90. And that was in 1980s money. And soon after the release of Back to the Future on VHS, complaints came flooding in of the Macrovision encoding causing problems during normal playback, including drifting picture, saturated color, glare, light-to-dark picture cycles, bad audio, and picture flagging, in which the borders of the picture seemed to warp and wave like a flag. And Popular Mechanics magazine encouraged consumers who encountered those problems with Macrovision encoded tapes to return the tape for a refund and to submit their complaints. According to the Los Angeles Times, the process wasn't perfected, and instead it distorted the picture in the original pre-recorded tape or didn't successfully make the copy unwatchable. And for a while, Macrovision fell out of favor with home video companies that pay for the process. And even Embassy Home Entertainment, who was the first company to use Macrovision in 1985, abandoned it after they received too many complaints from consumers who had problems playing back the Macrovision encoded cassettes. Macrovision chairman John Ryan admitted that the system wasn't perfect, stating that as a result of customer comments, Macrovision was able to identify 3 legitimate, relatively minor irritants, and effective November 1st, 1986, Macrovision made some minor technical adjustments in its process to deal with these discoveries. I don't have enough movies on VHS that are original releases from the 1980s to form a consensus, but among the ones I do have, Star Trek III is from February 1985 and thus predates the use of Macrovision, while both Risky Business from July 1987 and King Kong in Color from February 1989 do not have Macrovision on them. The one thing that really revived and accelerated interest in Macrovision encoding was GoVideo's Dual Deck VCR, which had been planned as far back as 1984, but was held up by manufacturers refusing to make it under pressure from the Motion Picture Association of America. After GoVideo filed an antitrust lawsuit in October 1988, the MPAA finally relented, saying that they would allow a dual-deck VCR to be manufactured as long as it would not be able to copy tapes that were Macrovision encoded. GoVideo's dual VHS VCR finally hit the market in December 1989 at $995, more than the cost of buying 2 separate normal VCRs, but I guess convenience has its price. And the company's CEO gave his assurance that copy-protected cassettes, such as movies with Macrovision signals, can't be duplicated. And the oldest Macrovision encoded tape I have in my collection is from almost immediately after then, Say Anything, which was released by CBS Fox Video in January 1990. When I play it in my VCR, the protect indicator comes on my Sony DVMC, indicating the presence of Macrovision encoding. And when I attempt to capture it using my Panasonic D-Snap, it just beeps and says copy inhibited. Within a few years, GoVideo started selling dual-deck VCRs which would let you duplicate copy-protected recordings. And surprisingly, neither Macrovision nor the MPAA attempted to block it from being sold. Maybe because it would copy the Macrovision encoding onto the duplicated tape, thereby preventing anyone with a normal VCR from being able to make a copy of the copy. And also is probably due to the fact that double videocassette recorders never caught on anywhere near as much as double audiocassette recorders, especially due to their high price, mediocre performance, and poor reliability. GoVideo's claim of being a small American company fighting back against the big Japanese manufacturers may have won over lawmakers, but didn't necessarily win over consumers. According to Television Digest in September 1990, they estimated that about 40% of pre-recorded releases were Macrovision encoded. And according to Gary Shapiro, chairman of the Home Recording Rights Coalition in July 1991, Macrovision's anti-copy system is already applied to an estimated 58 to 70% of major theatrical videocassette releases. And at the time, Macrovision boasted about their system's popularity, saying it has attained widespread use and acceptance in all segments of the motion picture video industry. Over 350 million cassettes have been copy protected since 1985, and the number increases yearly. The top 10 best-selling videocassettes of all time, movies like Batman, E.T., Ninja Turtles, and Pretty Women, have all been encoded with Macrovision. It's also on Beaches from November 1990, Home Alone from August 1991, Fantasia also from August 1991, and no, that's not a copied tape, I just don't have the original sleeve for it, The Love Bug from December 1991, My Cousin Vinny from October 1992, and The Sound of Music from August 1996. My copy of Back to the Future on VHS is a later release from November 1994, and it is also Macrovision encoded. So use of Macrovision in the early to mid-1990s was widespread, but by no means universal, no pun intended. For example, it's not on Valley Girl from 1992, which also strangely was recorded at LP speed with no hi-fi audio or closed captions. It's also not on An Officer and a Gentleman, also from 1992, and not on Forrest Gump from April 1995. Nor is there Macrovision on the Harrison Ford version of Sabrina from 1996. And by the way, in case those dates sound wrong, I'm going by the date the tape is from, not the original film. And actually, quite a few of these tapes have their exact date of manufacture printed on the spine, as well as my P-Touch labels, such as 11/20/91, 9/23/97, and 9/04/99. Now I'm playing Forrest Gump, and the DVMC's Protect indicator does not illuminate, and the D-Snap has no problem capturing it.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Now once you get to the late 1990s, it seems to be a 50-50 chance as to whether or not a movie on VHS will be Macrovision encoded. For example, Father of the Bride from March 1997, Air Force One from February 1998, In and Out from March 1998, Titanic from September 1998, and Snow Riders from September 1999 all are Macrovision encoded. While Jerry Maguire from May 1997, Footloose from August 1997, Wild America from September 1997, The Princess Bride from December 1997, and Home Alone 3 from June 1998 all do not have Macrovision on them. Not that anybody would actually want to copy Home Alone 3. And once you get into the 2000s, I think any remaining use of Macrovision on VHS quickly dropped off because they figured VHS is old technology. Anybody who wants to pirate movies is doing it from DVDs now, so why even bother? So neither Blue Planet from June 2001 nor I Spy from March 2003 have Macrovision on them. And also Boys Don't Cry from March 2000 does not have Macrovision on it. I have to call out Macrovision's claim that our company has also achieved widespread acceptance and popularity among those producing videos on non-theatrical subjects, including education, sports, children's subjects, exercise tapes, and a wide variety of training tapes. That's a bunch of malarkey. Those are exactly the kind of tapes that are the bread and butter of my VHS collection, and I can tell you that virtually none of them use Macrovision encoding. The only videos I have which fall into those categories and are Macrovision encoded are the 1992 Video Professor Windows 3.1 tutorial, which ironically shows a Macintosh keyboard on its cover.
No, not that kind of mouse. I'm referring to the one that has little buttons on it.
And this box set of injury law tapes from 2002, which actually mentions Macrovision on the cassettes and sleeves. And I have this tape which claims to have video lock copy protection, even though no such thing actually exists. The only thing keeping you from copying it is the sheer boredom of the material.
The two files that are listed merely indicate the actual directory that we're in, which is the dot. The dot indicates the current directory, and the double dot indicates the parent directory. This just shows you that letters, the directory letters, is contained within another directory. In this case, it's the root directory.
Macrovision also promoted the system's use on music videos, telling publishers you could sell more music videos if you gave fewer away, because illegal copying of music videos is rife. Of the 9 post-1985 music videos I have on VHS, 3 of them are Macrovision encoded: New Kids on the Block, Billy Joel, and Phil Collins. Actually, 3 out of 10. I just picked up this Kenny Chesney bonus video from 2003, and it is not Macrovision encoded. Macrovision wasn't a VHS-only system. It was also used on some movies on Betamax videocassettes. Even though most Beta VCRs were immune to the effects of Macrovision. So Macrovision would generally not impair your ability to copy VHS to Beta or Beta to Beta, but if you tried to copy Beta to VHS, that's when it would bite you. There were also reports of Macrovision being used on pre-recorded 8mm videocassettes, which yes, definitely were a thing, so I checked the 2 I have, and New Kids on the Block Step by Step, even though the VHS version has Macrovision, the 8mm version does not, and neither does Pump Up the Volume. And I checked my 2 pre-recorded Sony Handycam HandyGuide tapes, and they don't have Macrovision on them either. And yes, there were PAL and CCAM versions of Macrovision, so it was used internationally, not just here in North America. No copy protection system is completely impenetrable, and that was definitely the case with Macrovision. In their press material, they did claim it will degrade the quality of illegal dubs in over 80% of all combinations of VCRs and TVs. But the company admitted that at the time that Macrovision was introduced, there was a significant number of television and VCR combinations on which the process proved ineffective. So let's try some VCRs from the time when Macrovision was introduced. I have 2 VHS VCRs from 1985, a portable model Quasar made by Panasonic, and a studio standard by Fisher made by Sanyo. And as you saw during the intro, when I connect the output of the Quasar to the input of the Fisher, and I put a Macrovision encoded tape in the Quasar and a blank tape in the Fisher, the picture starts out okay, but within a few seconds you'll see it fade out. There it goes, and it completely loses sync, both horizontal and vertical, so all you get is a flickering mess, completely unwatchable.
It's not a problem anymore.
And we're not even actually recording on the Fisher VCR, we're just passing the signal through it. On some VCRs you do need to actually be recording in order for the effect of Macrovision to be visible, but in this case, just passing it through the VCR will do that. But now let's try going in the opposite direction. I have the output of the Fisher connected to the input of the Quasar, and I'll put the Macrovision encoded tape into the Fisher and the blank tape into the Quasar. And I press play on the Fisher. Picture looks okay,
Oh, yes, absolutely.
and it stays okay. Does not seem to be affected by the Macrovision, but we're not recording yet, so I'll do that. Now the Quasar is recording, and the picture still looks fine. Normally, as soon as you hit record, if the VCR is going to be affected by Macrovision, that's when you'll see it. But there seems to be no effect on this Quasar VCR. It seems to be immune to Macrovision. And just to be sure, here I am playing the tape I dubbed from the Fisher to the Quasar.
It's the second time it's done that.
As of 1991, the company said newer model VCRs produce consistently poor quality dubs from Macrovision encoded cassettes. And that is true, but the reasoning for it wasn't purely coincidental. Back in 1986, they alleged that there is strong evidence that the VCR manufacturers have tried to make their products immune to every conceivable anti-copying technology. Executives from CBS, Fox, and other motion picture companies flew to Tokyo to try to get the Japanese VCR manufacturers to voluntarily agree to not bypass Macrovision, but that proved to be unsuccessful. So the big bad MPAA got involved and waged an all-out attack on home duplicating by pushing for a federal law that would require an alteration of all VCR circuitry to prevent copying. They lobbied the Senate to introduce legislation for a copy coding system to render future VCRs incapable of making unauthorized copies of pre-recorded videocassettes and video discs. Yes, they wanted Macrovision to be implemented on Laserdisc players as well. They wanted the Macrovision system to be what they called bilateral. In other words, not only must the pre-recorded videocassettes be encoded, but there must also be a specific circuit in each VCR which would be triggered to prevent the copying of encoded cassettes. That kind of legislation ultimately wasn't passed until the Digital Millennium Copyright Act in 1998, but the MPAA continued to strong-arm VCR manufacturers into accepting what they called a peace treaty between electronics and entertainment interests, with their president Jack Valenti delivering some flowery prose at the Consumer Electronics Show in 1989. He said, "May I say, in frankness born of our mutual interests, manufacturers must redeem a most crucial imperative to design these magical machines with the latest technical shields against which attempts to copy valuable creative works will be defeated." There's still a lot more to say about all the devices that were made to block, bypass, defeat, kill, remove, or scrub Macrovision, and Macrovision's efforts to take them off the market and prevent them from being sold. But here's all the material I've researched, compiled, printed out, and covered so far in the video. Yes, all on paper. And here's what I have left on just that one topic alone. So I think it's best saved for another video in the future.
Whoa, Bill, are you trying to tell me I don't have to watch the program? I can just turn it off.
That's exactly what I'm trying to tell you.